Chapter 7. Research. The smell of brewing coffee tempts me from my dreams. My eyelids flutter open, and for a second, I'm disoriented. In my dream, I was at the beanery. For once, I was early, and had gotten there before Jack. I was sitting at our table, waiting for him, trying and failing not to look out the window every 5 seconds, hoping to see him walking up the street. I sit up on the plastic-covered couch, amazed that with everything else that is going on, the thing that most perplexes me is those few moments of my dream, waiting for Jack. In all the time Jack and I have been going to the beanery, it's always him waiting for me. Even though it was just a dream, I'm struck by how strange it felt, my waiting for Jack. I allow myself a few more moments to ponder how Jack has become so important to me, that even in a dream, it seems weird that he wouldn't be there waiting. "Good morning," says Jack. "Hey," I say, sitting up. I slide my feet over the edge of the couch and slip on my shoes. Jack places a styrofoam cup filled with coffee into my hands, and I lean over it, breathing in the wonderful aroma. And see, my coffee's black. I make a face, wondering if I'll be able to get it down without the flavored syrup, whipped cream, and cinnamon sprinkles of my usual latte. "It's not too bad," says Jack. He takes a sip of his coffee. "Did you get any sleep?" I can't believe it, but yes, I say. "You?" "Best sleep ever," says Jack. "I guess time travel really tears it out of you. Are you hungry?" "A little," I lie. I'm ravenous, but I'm trying to be practical. Shouldn't we save our money? "Breakfast is on the house," says Jack. He pulls a large pink box out of the refrigerator and sets it on one of the tables. He opens the box, and I join him to see what's inside. "It seems it was Sarah's birthday yesterday," says Jack. "Well, that was nice of her to leave her cake behind," I say. Jack retrieves a knife from one of the kitchen drawers, and I grab some napkins from the counter. He slices 2 large pieces of cake, putting one piece on the napkin in front of me. I pick up the cake, and I'm just about to take a bite when something nags at me. "Is this stealing?" I ask. Jack laughs. "If that's your biggest concern, today's going to be a lot easier than yesterday." "Shut up," I say. He's still laughing, and I think about shoving the rest of the cake into his face. "It's not stealing," says Jack. "I don't know if this cake is going to be any good by the time they come back on Monday. If they even remember it's here then. Besides, this place is full of nerds who would love to know we've been here. They'd probably throw us a party if they had any idea we were time traveling. I don't think they'll be upset about us eating a little bit of Sarah's leftover birthday cake." Jack punctuates his speech by slicing another piece of cake. He looks at me, eyebrows raised. "Yes, please," I say, thankful to have another slice of one of the best cakes I've ever eaten. We're both lost in thought, and I watch the light move across the room as the sun comes up in earnest. We're on our second cup of coffee before Jack speaks again. "What should we do next?" he asks. "I mean, going back to the point of origin didn't solve the problem." "No, but going there was important. We were meant to go there because it led us here." I think about the brown envelope and the words that were written on it. I can't believe this doesn't cause me to laugh out loud. The idea that I'm taking my cue from a small scrap of paper that no longer exists is truly comical. But the words ring through my head, and my hand instinctively wraps around the vial still hanging around my neck. "Gather your facts before you travel back." "I think we're supposed to figure out what happened at the river," I say. "You mean what caused the fish kill?" asks Jack. I nod. "So how do we do that?" asks Jack. "I'm not sure," I say. "We need to get to a computer." "Not many of those just lying around back in the 80s, says Jack. He's right. I remember this from one of my dad's "when I was your age" stories. Dad said whenever he wanted to use the computer, he had to ask his parents to drive him to the library, wait in line, and use one of theirs. "How about a public library?" I say. "Think they'll have one?" Jack grins at me. Yes, he says, pumping the air with his fist. New Bern has a big library someplace downtown. He glances at the clock above the stove, but I doubt they're open yet. It's only 7 o'clock. Thinking of my dad now and his sometimes corny stories gives me a pang of homesickness. I try to shake the image of my mom, dad, and Neutrino sitting in the living room, waiting for me to come home. How do you feel about heading back to Miller's Island? I ask. I don't know, Grace. It wouldn't be the same, says Jack. Going home, that is. I know it will be different, but I think I'll feel better if we just go back. Well, Miller's Island does have a library, says Jack. He thinks it over for a second and then says, Okay, if you want to go, we'll go. Besides, it'll be kind of cool to see what Miller's Island looked like all those years ago. Jack and I clean up our breakfast, fold the tablecloths, and put them back into the drawers. I head to the ladies' room while Jack puts the couches back in their original spots. I'm seized by a moment of panic when I return to the break room and find he's not there. I spin around just as he comes back into the room. Relax, Grace. Just went to the bathroom. And then, somehow, I manage to be embarrassed by Jack's announcement. I feel my cheeks burn and look away, trying to hide my face. I almost hate him when he steps in front of me and lifts my chin to look at him. It's okay, he says. It really is. He gives me a smile. I take Jack's hand away from my chin and smile back. Thanks. Let's see what we can take with us, says Jack. He opens the fridge and pulls out the last 2 Cokes. Everything else that's in here will have to be kept cold, so I don't think we can carry it with us. I pull the pack of crackers from my shirt pocket. At least we have lunch, I say. We'll be home long before lunch, says Jack. Miller's Island is less than 10 miles away. 10 miles? I ask. Yeah, should take us about 3 hours to walk there, says Jack. We need to get going if we want to get back before the library closes. It's Saturday, so they won't be open all day. Suddenly, 2 Cokes and a pack of crackers doesn't seem enough to get us through this hike. I open cabinet doors, searching for anything that will help us. I smile when I find 2 empty water bottles. I rinse them out using dish soap at the sink, then fill each with tap water. I pass one to Jack. We pick up the Cokes from the table and head out of the room. At the last second, Jack goes back into the break room and turns off the coffee maker. I don't want to read about us being responsible for some huge fire in New Bern in the 80s. I'm still laughing when we walk out of the building and into the bright sunshine of a chilly September day. We don't know if the guardhouse is staffed on the weekend, but decide not to risk it. Jack and I walk into the woods that border the research facility and walk until we reach the road. I look up and down the street, wondering which way we should go. How's your internal GPS? I ask. Come on, Grace. This is the easy part. Jack takes the lead, walking down the road toward the sunrise. I'm a little perturbed with myself for not catching that one. We're heading back to Miller's Island, which is on the coast. The sun rises in the east, blah, blah, blah. But my mood lightens when we come to a sign that reads, Miller's Island, 7 miles. We must have been closer than I thought, says Jack. Just a little over 2 hours to get there. We walk in silence until the first car drives by us, going the opposite direction. The driver looks at us curiously, but doesn't stop. Sometime later, another car passes us, this one heading toward Miller's Island. Feel like hitchhiking? Asks Jack. What happened to your fear of riding with strangers? I ask. I think I lost that fear about a mile back, along with the tread of my left shoe, says Jack. Besides, they won't be a stranger, not really. Anyone who's going into Miller's Island this early on a Saturday is probably someone who lives there. And they might still live there. Since I know almost everyone on Miller's Island, I would probably know them. Never in a million years would I ever think to hitch a ride with a stranger. Yes, I see the irony. I did that just last night. But I don't think that counted as hitchhiking because, well, the driver never knew we were in their van. I think that would be the one exception to the rule, But in this case, I agree with Jack. It's very likely he's going to know whoever might stop to give us a ride. So I guess there are 2 exceptions to my no hitchhiking rule. And 30 minutes later, when a pickup truck passes us, then pulls off the road some 20 yards ahead, I'm completely ready to jump into the cab. "Let's see if I know them," says Jack. He leads me to the driver's side of the truck. "Good morning," he says to the driver. "Where are y'all headed?" asks the man. I study his face closely, trying hard to recognize him. He does look familiar, but I can't place him. Jack must have had better luck because he responds quickly. "Miller's Island. We set out early for the library, but our car broke down. We had it towed back to a shop in New Bern and didn't want to wait around for it to be repaired. We thought we could walk to the island, but didn't realize how long it would take to even get to the ferry." The man considers Jack's story, then casts a look my way. I guess he figured he'd be safe enough taking 2 kids 5 miles down the road. "Hop in," he says. Jack runs to the passenger side of the truck and holds the door open for me. I climb inside and slide over the bench seat to the middle. Jack jumps in and we both fasten our seatbelts. "You say you're going to the library?" asks the man. "Yeah, we live in New Bern. Our library didn't have the book we needed, but the librarian said the one on Miller's Island does." "How are you going to get back?" asked the man. "I called my cousin from the shop. He said he'd meet us there when he gets off work." I try hard not to stare at Jack, but I am completely floored by how easily he has spun this tale. I guess there is some basis for that old saying that there's a kernel of truth in every lie. We ride in silence for a few minutes until the man speaks again. "What are your names?" I nearly choke when Jack says, "I'm Jack." So it's not his real name, but I can't believe he didn't make up something different. I'm even more shocked when he continues, "This is Grace." The man nods. "I'm Jackson." When the man scratches the reddish-brown stubble under his chin, I know it's the same Mr. Jackson from Mims. Jack gives me a look. I'm afraid he's about to blow our cover, and I give him a gentle nudge in the ribs. We arrive at the ferry, and Jackson pulls slowly into one of the 3 parking spaces on the deck. He puts the truck in park and kills the engine. It's a little awkward on the ride to Miller's Island because we can't leave the cab during the ferry. Jackson turns on the truck's radio, and thankfully it's tuned to a Saturday morning talk show, which prevents further small talk. The ferry finally docks on Miller's Island, and Jackson drives the truck toward downtown. "Well, it looks like you'll have a little wait before they open up," says Jackson a few minutes later when he pulls into the library parking lot. He stops the truck beside the front steps. "We don't mind waiting," says Jack, unbuckling his seatbelt. I do the same and wait for him to slide out of the cab. "They said they'd only hold the book for a day, so I'm just glad we got here in time." Jack hops out of the truck and holds the door open for me. "Thanks for the ride," I say, jumping down to the sidewalk. "You're welcome," says Jackson. He puts the truck into gear and drives away. "Jackson?" asks Jack. "As in Mr. Jackson?" "I doubt it," I say. I don't know what Mr. Jackson's first name is, but I don't think his name is Jackson Jackson. I burst out laughing, and Jack joins in. This almost makes up for my asking which direction we should go to get to the coast. Nah, this is much funnier, I think. Jack and I sit down on the front steps of the library. I take a deep breath, breathing in the salty sea air. When I hear the waves of the ocean, I feel myself relax, just a little. "Feel better?" asks Jack. I smile. "Yeah, it feels good to be on familiar ground." I pull the paper out of my pocket and we both read over the notes I jotted down when we were in Lab B. "So, I've been thinking about what you said about the library having a computer," says Jack. "And you're right, they do. Or they did in our time. But when I used the computer there before, I had to have a library card. I still have it in my wallet, but I don't think they'll take it since it's dated last July." That was something I hadn't considered. Well, let's see if we can use the computer without a card, or maybe even get a library card today and then use it. But if that doesn't work, we can always do it old school. I mean, we will be in a library after all. A compact car pulls into the lot and parks in a reserved parking spot. "Oh my gosh," says Jack, turning quickly away. "That can't be Miss Bailey. She's the one who gave me my library card." "Chill," I hiss. "If it is Miss Bailey, she won't recognize you. In her world, you haven't been born yet, so the two of you have never met." Jack takes a deep breath and turns back. "Good morning," he says when Miss Bailey comes up the steps. "Well, what a wonderful surprise," says Miss Bailey. "It's always so good to see young people waiting for something other than concert tickets." She unlocks the door and turns to us. "It's going to take me a few minutes to get everything turned on, but you're welcome to come inside." "Thanks," I say. We follow Miss Bailey into the library. She clicks on fluorescent lights and makes her way to the checkout desk. Jack pulls on my arm and leads me to the research section of the library. And then we just stand there. I don't know about Jack, but I have no idea where to start. "Wow, where's Google?" asks Jack. I grin. "Yeah, me too." I wander toward a bookshelf that has a couple of sets of encyclopedias and pull down one that's labeled BA to BI. I look up bacteria and hold the book open to the page so Jack can look on with me. "We already know all this stuff," says Jack. "We need something that will tell us what kind of bacteria it is." Ms. Bailey is turning on the 3 computers that I guess are for public use. "Even if we can get onto a computer, how are we going to search this?" I ask. I'm not exactly sure how the computers in the 80s worked, much less searched things. We need help getting started. Jack smiles. "Human Google." He takes my notes and walks up to Ms. Bailey. "Would you please tell us how we can find out what kind of cell this is? Is there some way to find out on the computer?" Ms. Bailey looks at him curiously. "It's for science class," I say. "We're supposed to research the cell. We know it's some kind of bacteria, but we don't know which one." "Of course," says Ms. Bailey. "You might find something on the computer, but it will probably be quicker if you take a look in our textbook section. Here, I'll show you." I race back to the shelf and replace the encyclopedia, then catch up to where Jack waits beside Ms. Bailey. "Try this one," she says. I read the words on the spine of the book. Microbiology. "Thanks," says Jack. "Anytime," says Ms. Bailey. "If that doesn't work, we can try the computers. You might find something. It's just a matter of what's been added to the database." She leaves us and returns to the checkout desk, where she begins working on a stack of books that are waiting to be returned. "Database?" I ask. "Maybe these computers aren't hooked up to the internet yet," says Jack. He hands me the textbook and pulls another one from the shelf. "It'll be quicker if we both look," he says. I flip through the pages and find an index of pictures of different types of bacteria. My finger traces a line under each row as I skim over the images. I sigh loudly when I reach the end of the index without coming across the cell. I look up to see Jack has stacked 4 other textbooks on our desk, and he's still pulling more off the shelf. I set my book aside, pick up another, and begin searching through the pages. "This is so frustrating," I say a couple of hours later. "This bacterium exists. Why can't we find anything about it?" I fold up the paper and put it back into my pocket. Jack flips to the front of the book he's reading. "This book was printed in 1984. Maybe the bacterium hasn't been discovered yet, or at least not named." "That makes sense," I say. "That lab seemed to be part of a university. Maybe they just found the bacteria and just began studying it." "Why don't we take a break?" asks Jack. He looks at the clock on the wall. "The library is closing in 15 minutes anyway. Let's see if we can get some lunch." "The beanery?" I ask, purely out of habit. Then I realize it's 1988. "Cool," says Jack. "It is open. It opened in 1985, so we can go there if you want." I wonder how much time Jack spends in the coffee shop to know that bit of trivia. "Sounds great," I say. I pick up several of the textbooks and put them back on their shelves. Jack puts the rest away and meets me at the checkout desk. "Thanks for your help," I say to Ms. Bailey. "It was my pleasure," she says. "Come back anytime." Jack and I say our goodbyes and head outside to a warm fall day. It's a quick walk to the beanery, and I've already decided I'm going to have the veggie hummus wrap. It's one of my favorite sandwiches there. I feel a sense of relief when I see the beanery looks the same, with one exception. The door is painted brick red instead of the forest green I'm used to. We step inside the coffee shop and walk to the counter. As I read the menu, I realize this is not the beanery I know. "Awesome," says Jack. He orders quickly. "I'll take a cheeseburger and large fries, please." That does sound good, I think. "Can I have the same, please?" Jack pays using his 20, and I'm surprised the total's under $6. We're handed 2 cups for the drink machine. I turn away from the counter, and I almost cry out in happiness when I see our table. I follow Jack to the back corner and sit down in silence, taking it all in. I see the bookshelf that surrounds the fireplace is still here, but it's filled with books, not locals' coffee cups. The hardwood floors look the same, but they are covered in different rugs. The table and chair are definitely different to what I'm used to seeing in our version of the beanery. But I smile when I see Jack's chair seems to be the same small pew where he sat just a few days before. "It's weird," says Jack, "being here without Emma." I realize Jack must miss his family as much as I miss mine. I think he might need a few minutes alone. "Hand me your cup," I say. "I'll get our drinks." I carry our cups to the ice machine and fill them up before adding soda from the drink machine. "Order up," calls the man who took our order. Jack retrieves the plates and we meet back at our table. I almost inhale my lunch. It's that good. Fresh lettuce, fresh tomato, and so much melted cheese. The fries are good too, just enough salt on them. "Going to have to suggest they put hamburgers back on the menu," I say. "I'll back you on that," says Jack, finishing up his last fry. My eyes catch a newspaper left behind on one of the nearby tables. I grab the paper and skim over the front page as I walk back to our table, and then I freeze. "What is it?" asks Jack. I drop the paper on the table wordlessly. "That's it," says Jack, pointing to the black and white image on the front page. Jack slides over and I sit with him on the pew. We silently read the article together. "So that lab building was part of a university," I say. "And they're researching the bacteria," says Jack. "We were right. There wasn't anything in the library about the cell because it's only just been discovered." I turn to the page where the article continues and read it aloud. "Researchers insist the bacterium is responsible for the recent fish kills on the Neuse River." "This might be it," says Jack. "Maybe this is what gets us home." Jack points to the name of the bacteria, but doesn't say anything. "It's worth a shot," I say. We take a deep breath and then say the word together. Pfisteria. This time, I'm ready, if only in the way of a few seconds' notice. I grab Jack's hand as I watch the man at the counter zoom away from us. The tables and chairs drift up from the floor and the hardwoods grind against their seams until some break loose, dancing off into the sky like crazy popsicle sticks. The ceiling takes off like a rocket, and I feel the pew rumble. Jack pulls me close while everything else is dismantling. The walls, most of the hardwoods, and this pew remain intact. It's almost like we're on some strange carnival ride. Coffee cups fly through the air like missiles, and Jack and I lean back reflexively as they fly to their homes on the bookshelf. The table I recognize as ours comes straight out of nowhere and stops in front of us. The roof reattaches, floorboards are replaced, and flying carpets slide under the tables, finding their homes on the hardwood floor. I shiver when a gust of air blows in from the gaping hole where the red front door should be, and then a split second later, a green one takes its place. I glance up to the counter and see Emma, her back to us, working on a latte. Remembering where we are, I jump up and move to my side of the table. "I'm not going to bite," says Jack, laughing. "Funny," I say. Don't you think Emma might find it weird if she saw us sitting so close together? I don't know, says Jack, but I'm up for finding out. I roll my eyes at him. Here's your coffee, calls Emma from the counter. Maybe it's the craziness of the past 24 hours, but something about Emma seems a little off. Then again, I don't know how long we've been away or what happened while we were gone. I feel better when I see how Emma reacts to Jack's vaulting over the counter to get to her. With lightning speed, Emma has Jack in a headlock and is maneuvering him back around the counter. It's quite the scene, petite Emma manhandling her bigger little brother like this. How many times do I have to tell you you're not allowed back here? Emma scolds. Ow, okay, says Jack. Emma releases Jack, points her finger to where I'm sitting, then returns to her place behind the counter. Not a word, says Jack when he returns to our table. And because I feel just a little sorry for his embarrassment, I comply with Jack's request in that I don't say a word, but I can't stop the grin that spreads across my face.